Afternoon, Cherries fans, and welcome to the latest opposition preview on Back of the Net. Yesterday, we come up against a very well organised Preston side. Despite a resurgence in the last half an hour, came a bit short. So, what better place to try and redeem ourselves than South Yorkshire, where we face Barnsley at Oakwell, somewhere that we haven't had much success in South Yorkshire. Will it be third time lucky or a bit more of the same? Remember, this game is a 5:30 kickoff on Friday. It is live on Sky. I know it's a strange time. To discuss all things Barnsley, I have Doug O'Kane, sports editor at the Barnsley Chronicle. Afternoon, Doug. How are you doing?
Hi, Craig. I'm okay. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thank you. A bit disappointed after the defeat against Preston, but a very, very well organised side that we come up against. But very good result for you guys at Birmingham the other day as well.
Yeah, very good. Probably much needed after two defeats. Just started to take a little bit of the momentum away from the manager's good start, and they played really well on Tuesday evening. They got a penalty, which was maybe a bit soft, and a deflected goal, but overall, I think they definitely deserved the win. They were the better team, and yeah, it was a valuable 3 points.
Excellent. Well, firstly, working for the local press, you will have had first-hand insights to the effects of the situation this year. So restrictions, the social distancing, and all the rest. What has it been like for you?
Well, it has been strange. It's been very different. Getting a temperature check on the way in, and filling out quite a few forms, and doing Zoom interviews, although they've stopped now. It's pretty much all face to face, but it was quite strange in a stadium trying to listen to Zoom while sort of mowers are cutting the grass afterwards, and you can't really hear, and you're trying to do an interview with someone who is literally about 50 meters away from you, but then you could just walk up and talk to him, but you're trying to do it via the internet. But that was a bit surreal, but obviously we know why we have to do it like that. There's a bit bigger picture, and we're very fortunate to be in the stadium and watching games when fans can't, and obviously they would love to. Hopefully they can start doing it from today and across the country in the next few weeks. So yeah, it has been strange, but in a strange way, as a lot of the players and other people have said, you do sort of get used to it, although of course it would be much better if the stadiums were packed with fans.
Yeah, most definitely. And recently for Barnsley, Valérien Ismaël has taken over from Gerhard Struber, and has actually overseen a bit of turn in form, a good run of results, including last night's 2-1 win over Bournemouth at St Andrews. How has he actually changed things for Barnsley?
Yeah, he's made a few changes. I mean, the overall philosophy of the squad and the club stays the same. It's very high pressing, counter attacking style that runs through Barnsley, and all the managers that they appoint or head coaches that they appoint use that style of football. That's the way Barnsley want to play. So in a way, the style hasn't completely changed, but there have been important differences from Struber, who towards the end of his reign, which was going a little bit stale, even though it was right at the start of the season. They were very possession based, but not creating very many chances or scoring many goals. Whereas Ismaël's gone a lot more direct. They still pass the ball around, but they get the ball forward faster. And while their possession stats and passing stats have gone really down under him, their goals have gone up, their wins have gone up, and points. So fans will be happy with that, and I think a lot of fans prefer the style of playing a bit more direct forward rather than it could be a little bit ponderous at times previously earlier in the season. So they've got it forward more. The other change is that they were playing pretty much a 3-5-2 under Struber, and now they play 3-4-3. Corley Woodrow, who had been in attacking midfield quite a lot under the previous manager, is in the middle of that front three up front, which is his natural position, and he seems to be thriving there. So they're the main changes, as well as just that kind of new manager bounce, and it's probably a bit more than that now that he's won 5 games in 8. He seems to have made a big impact. Obviously, he's earned the respect of the players by being a former Bayern Munich player playing at the top level, and that I think that's impressed this young group. But so is his coaching as well, and he seems to have just brought something fresh and new to the side. He won his first game, and it's kind of gone from there really. So he's made a really big impact.
And you mentioned there Corley Woodrow. You've got a striker there that averages just under 1 goal every 2 games. So far this season, he's got 5. But I had a little look at some of the Barnsley forums, and some of the general feeling is that he should have a couple more and he's been a little bit wasteful. What do you think of that from what you've seen so far?
I would think that would be a little bit harsh. His record, like you say, has been excellent. 40 goals. I think hardly anyone has got to 40 goals in the last 20 games. I think 20 years. Sorry. I think Sam Winnall is the only other player. So it's really rare to have a striker who's scoring that many goals over such a consistent period of time. He got 15 last season and 6 in all competitions this season. 4 of them have been from the penalty spot, but obviously they still have to be put away. And he's won 2 of them himself. He has missed a few chances, definitely. Last night, he probably could have had a few more, but they were more sort of half chances, I would say. He's maybe not at his absolute best finishing form at the moment, but I think he will definitely get there and still contributes massively to the team. He's got 3 assists, which is the most of any Barnsley player. And in every game, he creates something, be it a chance for the opposition, or for his teammates, or for himself. He really adds so much to the team in terms of quality. So, yeah, he's missed a few chances, but I think he's having a really good season.
Excellent. And do tell us a little bit more about the rest of the Barnsley side.
Yeah, they're a very young team. They did have a policy of only signing players 25 and under for a long time. That kind of is still the main strategy. They like to develop players, but they have tweaked that a little bit to bring some more experience in, like Matty James on loan from Leicester, and a couple of Austrian players, Michael Solbauer and Dominic Frieser, who are sort of more into their early 30s, late 20s, and just to give that little bit more know-how in games, which I think that's a good balance that they've found. Yeah, they've got some really talented players. I think the one that most fans are really excited about at the moment is the guy who scored the winner last night, Callum Styles. He's 20 years old. He signed from Bury a couple of years ago, and he's really only broken into the team since lockdown. He was mainly a substitute before that, but I mean, he's a central midfielder, but he's playing at left wing back at the moment, and he looks a real talent who could, I think, go and play in the Premier League in the future. He scored winners in the last 2 games that Barnsley have won, and he seems to have everything. Can beat a man, really good passer, and he's scoring goals now as well. He's one of the best technical players at the team, so he's a real talent. In terms of their other sort of key players, Alex Mowat, the captain, in central midfield. He's always a consistent player and one of their best and longest serving. And then the other wing back who's impressed this season, Callum Britton from MK Dons. They're both wing back. Styles and Britton have done really well. So yeah, there's a lot of decent young players in the team, and a bit of sort of steel at the back in 3 centre backs. Michael Solbauer, Mikael Helik, and Mads Anderson, who seem to have gelled together into a decent back 3, and a young homegrown keeper, Jack Walton, behind them.
Excellent. So at the moment, Barnsley do sit 13th with 19 points from 15 games, but you've had some very good results as well, especially since Ishmael's taken over. There was the 1-0 win at home to Watford. What was the realistic expectations at the start of the season? How's that changed since the new manager's come in?
I think with the way that last season went with Barnsley, they were, I think, 9 points adrift of safety with 14 games to go, and they stayed up in the last seconds. They scored last-minute winners in the last 2 games, and it was like an incredible, great escape, and they really played well in that period. So I think after that, I'm thinking, with a whole season under Gerhard Struber, and with that team that could only look like that as young players, they were going to get better and better. I think, and a lot of fans, I think, thought mid-table was a realistic ambition. And I know the squad very ambitious and probably looking similar, if not even a little bit higher. Obviously, then you had a bad start, not just with Struber leaving, but they didn't win any of the first 7 games for the first time since 1991. So that sort of threw that into question. But like you said, since Ismail has come in, they've been on great form, and I don't see any reason why they can't target at least the top half this season, which would be a massive progression from last season when they only stayed up in the final seconds and due to a points deduction to Wigan.
And is it very much the same team as from last season, which just narrowly escaped the drop?
Pretty much. They've signed a few players. Hellick, the centre back who I mentioned, Matty James, Dominic Freezer, and then a couple of players and the wing back Callum Britton. So sort of a few of them, but I'd say it's sort of like at least 3/4 the same. The majority of the squad is the same. A few players who weren't playing under the previous manager, or not much anyway, have been brought back in, like Victor Adebayo, who started last night and is after making big impacts off the bench. So yeah, there are a few new faces, but it's mainly the same side.
Now, there was a crazy rumour that did go around. I need to mention it to you, Doug, but a certain Mario Balotelli was mentioned in a couple of articles out there. Was there any truth in that?
A little bit, yeah. He played for Nice, who used to be owned by the people who now own Barnsley, so they knew each other. And Barnsley's chief executive and Mario Balotelli's agent, Mino Raiola, did have a conversation about bringing Mario to Barnsley, which obviously would have been fairly big news here. But I don't think it went any further than that. I think he's looking at other options. Barnsley were looking for a free agent striker, but I think they're happy to wait until January now. The chief executive, Dane Murphy, said last week that something along the lines of it wasn't the right time for Mario and for us, which obviously hints to some people that it might be the right time in the future, but we'll see. Personally, obviously, it'd be a fun story to cover and a fun person to interview, but I can't, but based on the fact that Barnsley are a very, very pressing team, I can't really see him fitting into that. But he'd obviously be a high-profile signing, so maybe that's why they're looking at him.
Yeah, it would have been a fantastic, name to have in a Barnsley shirt, by far, after what he's done in the game. I got to ask you what you expect from Bournemouth, considering our defeat against Preston. We did go 3-0 down and managed to score a very, very good free kick, and managed to get second one back. But unfortunately, we just couldn't get, a point from that game. Do you expect a little bit of a backlash from us, and how do you think Barnsley will counter that?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, obviously, Bournemouth have got a lot of quality in their side, one of the favourites for promotion, so you can't imagine they go too many games without picking up a win. I mean, there's obviously a huge disparity between the two squads in terms of how much money's been spent on them and stuff like that, with Bournemouth being in the Premier League for so long and spending, I imagine their starting 11 been brought in for more than 100 million, which is probably a lot more than Barnsley have ever spent ever. But it was similar to Watford. They came in with a lot of Premier League experience and real quality players, and Barnsley deservedly won 1-0, so they'll feel that they can do the same against Bournemouth. They've got a lot of momentum after that big win in Birmingham. It's a very short turnaround to 5:30 on Friday, like you mentioned, so they'll have to have to recover well and maybe rotate a little bit, but they'll feel that they can beat anyone in this league, so why not go for another win?
No, fair enough. And what do you expect? What would be your prediction?
I'll go positive from a Barnsley perspective and say a 2-1 win.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. I'm hoping that we can bounce back to winning ways. We need to, but like I said at the start, South Yorkshire hasn't really been lucky hunting grounds. Got beat by Sheffield Wednesday and got a draw against Rotherham, but some people do think that we were a little bit lucky there. They did put it in the back of the net, but luckily it was offside. But no, thank you so much for joining us today, Doug. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you and to discuss with regards to Barnsley and what we're expecting on Friday. No problem. Thank you for having me. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this opposition preview show. After the Barnsley game, we will have our free-for-alls as per normal. Also, Tom Jordan will be back with his player ratings and dissecting the game afterwards as well. So until the next video, up the cherries, and look forward to seeing you then.